Thank you so much. All right. So we have our panelists here, and of course, we are going to do Zoom, and I know we kind of have a packed house here, but the purpose of this is we're going to share information, and then also for any questions for clarification, that's for all of us, right? So this is for everybody, as we do have people that are here to, kind of be the subject matter experts, but at the same time, we want to make sure that this information is grabbed and retained. Okay. So with that, we're going to go to the. Yep. So I'm going to get this up.
Hi everyone. Thank you. I'm one of the panelists, so I'm going to cover South Asian, specifically Indian culture.
Yep. No, you're fine there. Yep.
So I had a whole presentation earlier, but then we decided to go outside, so I just printed out some sheets for my cheat sheet. I want to start about some facts that it's good to know about India in general. We have about 1.3. By the way, I'm from India originally. Moved to United States about 25 years ago, and both my kids are born and raised here. So I still go every year because our entire family is back home. My husband and I are the only one. So, that being said, there is a population of 1.3 people. So it's the second largest in the world. And it's also the most diverse country. Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, all over the country. There are some fun facts about the country. The first is that it's actually the second largest English state. About 125 million people speak English. So that's true. Within India, there are 21 very commonly used languages that people speak day to day. There are over about 1,500 native languages. So some of them are so different that languages. Just something that you know. Meeting an Indian client, not everybody speaks one language. Okay. So there's something new that is in a couple of days. There are about 177 billionaires in India right now. So if a lot of them are investing in states and east, so it's an opportunity, guys. You know where that real estate is one of the biggest investments. So a lot of people are buying properties. Happen to end up being one of those they're millionaires. Another thing that was very common thing that you guys probably know. So when you meet a buyer and they come to you and say, "Oh, we need a house in a certain direction," why do they ask for it? So Vastu is basically a Sanskrit word means vas means a place to live or dwell, and Shastra means education. So together they're science of architecture that mainly focuses on the direction of living space together by combining all 5 nature elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space to create a pleasant setting. So why do buyers want to have a certain connection? Because they want to have peace, happiness, good health. There are all these good reasons why they want to. I would say not every person has the same cookie cutter Vastu design for them. There are priests and consultants that come here based on astrology. They take your information, put a customized database for you that you follow when you go buy. So that's a very common practice. That's why a lot of people who are moving to Naperville and around Naperville, they will tell you, hey, I only want these, but then someone will come up and say, no, I want more. So why? Because they all are based on personal astrology and astrology and direction of the outlook. There are multiple sections. So it may not hurt to ask the client at a time, hey, do you have any restrictions that I should be aware of? Because you'd rather know ahead of time than later, and then by the time you're already so that's something, was one of the things. We'll talk, we'll have to play after that. So few things that you must, but you should know. So if the buyer mentioned you got lost, check what matters most. There could be a long list, but in that long list, what are your top, few things you must have? So let's say inside exactly what you're doing. Direction is not top, but it's second. So that's how you can be flexible, finding them a place in a more efficient. Second, give them the time to process. Why? Because they consult people back home. And the time difference between India and US is about 11 to 12 hours. So if they see a home now, everybody's sleeping over there. So by the time information goes, somebody process, they send it back to you. It can be anywhere from 1 to 2 days. So don't get offended or like, why are you not sleeping? Why does this take so long? So just don't takes time just because of the time difference, time to process the information. By the time that information comes, you will know. So that's a very common. The other thing is, I would say when you're meeting them for the first time, try to wear a little modest clothing and see how they are, like how they are, interacting with you and how they are wearing, so you can change it down the road, but initially if you end up meeting somebody from Southeast, or just be a little mindful of the clothing. Just don't go in a tank top the first meeting. You can go later if you feel comfortable that they are cool about it, but majority of them are. But just, so you know. Another thing is about our culture is people respect their elders a lot, which I know a lot of them do. A lot of cultures do. But specifically in South Asian cultures, when you buy anything big, whether it's a house or a car, even the weddings are like, always with the blessing of the elders. So their say is very important to them. So just be careful, when you meet them, make sure you greet. We always greet from oldest to the youngest. So if you have a group of people and their parents there, the kids, the young one, make sure you greet the parents, the older one first. Well, they look nice. They'll think, oh my gosh, you know something about us. So just the point. Another thing, families in our culture live for generations together. So don't be surprised if you see like 3 families showing up for a showing. It's like, why so many? They all live together. So that's why it's important to know that it's a common thing for generations to live together. So that's why parents, their brothers, sisters, mom, usually sisters, brothers usually live together. Another thing is our culture allows sharing food. So if you ever happen to take your clients out for a long, day of showing and then say, let's go for lunch, if they offer you food, don't get offended. It's normal for us to share food. Family style. Cow is very sacred to Hindus, especially. And so you can eat whatever, but if you like eating beef or chandokan, they'll be happy about it. They will be, most of them. So that's another thing. And then what's so funny that for Indians, coming on time is not so cool. So just so you know, like it's considered bad. It's considered, so always, you know, if they show up 10, 15 minutes late for a showing, it's okay. For them, it's like if they show up on time, it's not a good thing. So it's it's something else. It just doesn't go right to agree on like it's just we're tired. I'm tired of educating people like I'm with people like come on time. It doesn't change. And then the last thing that I'll open up is something I wanted to show you, which has actually come into my attention lately about certain agents who came across swastika, if you know. So just so you know, this is not a Nazi symbol for Indians. I have two agents actually in the last couple of years told me they were showing a house, there was this Nazi symbol, and he refused to go inside. And I'm like, why? But that's not true. So educate yourself. This is swastika, which in Indian culture means good fortune and well-being. And the sign symbolizes prosperity and good luck. So when we buy new homes and do any kind of prayer in the house, this symbol is usually, placed outside the house or on the floor. It's for good luck. If you notice, I put a Nazi symbol. That symbol is a 45-degree angle. So just don't be afraid to enter a house that has a swastika outside their door. So this was one of the last things I just want to show you guys. And that's it. I got a namaste slide after, which is a pulpit-free way of greeting people. So if you meet somebody from Asian, just say namaste. So I invited Sanjay here to answer any of the Q&A questions you guys have, because he's probably has more knowledge than me.
Oh, you did wonderful. I mean, I was thinking I thought you would leave some things about the language, covered that, highlight, covered anything. Yeah, like you covered, Vastu is one of the things, and it's many people are not extremely rigid because you'll only find very few people who are very rigid. Some people will have just basic of east or north facing. Generally, you'll find south facing is something that is there, but there are in certain southern communities that will go with south facing, others generally don't. So I don't know if you have noticed, nowadays builders have gone smarter with it. So if they have east facing lot, you'll see that 34,000 priced higher because they have, that's all the information they're getting from it. So people who are buying these good school districts and everywhere, you're seeing those prices higher just because they are facing a certain. And I think Vastu is something similar to the Chinese where they have feng shui. It's very, and it's not similar, and again, but it's the same concept behind it. Like Vastu has numerology, and there are corrective ways too. So some certain things that they say that even if something is not there, they have a corrective feature in the home that they, so it's not like everything will want it. There'll be 1 in 100 that would say exactly want this, otherwise that. So don't have.
Anybody question?
Yeah, I'm half Polish. I don't know how I got that degree, but yeah, I'm half Polish. I can't speak Polish, but yes. So the next time I learn Polish too, and then go back to some Polish person.
I appreciate what you said about the stuff because I something there. There are clients like buy stuff before. And I looked above and I educated like their stacks, the cultural roots. So yes,
Oh yeah.
We have something we call as IST, which is Indian Standard Time, and Indian Standard Time is usually a delay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we use that.
see that. So
Yeah, we have to ask. and they'll tell us based on like. Right, using times. This is, I will call them something. I will show up.
Right.
So is the symbol, even if it isn't 45 degree, it's still called swastika? Okay,
Yeah, it's a
thank you.
I think also I don't know if you knew language, sorry, which is one of the oldest language, and many of the Indian languages derive a lot of things from Sanskrit. Germany at one point of time had a lot of influence on Sanskrit, so they actually were learning a lot of Sanskrit from it. So I don't know when that swastika transcribed from India to there, but the base is completely changed. So they just use it as a symbol, but there's no connection between the two. But yeah, that was something that I thought that was a good thing that she brought it up in her presentation.
That I would go in. Usually it's a very straight on the doorsteps because it's supposed to good, good vibes, good energy symbol. So be careful. It's probably you don't know anything. So that pay attention to the ankle, I guess.
And to add a few festivals, there are a few Indian festivals that is celebrated throughout the country, and that's really a micro-political almost, which is like Diwali, we call it a festival. Holi, which with Naperville is like festival. And there are certain, these two are becoming very common across the country, and just for people to mix. I mean, there is a belief and a story behind it, but still it's becoming more common.
Yeah, because we had a problem in our neighborhood when Diwali happens to be somewhere end of October, beginning of November. And because it's a festival of lights, so we decorate our house inside and outside with lights. So people started putting lights before Thanksgiving, and then the neighborhood started complaining, oh, this is too early for Christmas. So that's when I had to jump in on my, call my board, and I said, no, this is for this reason. And now because I'm more in my moving to Naperville, you will see lights going up sometime mid-October and all the way to then goes to the New Year. So don't be surprised and get offended just because it's a festival that a lot of people are celebrating now. And even at the Ramadan, right, they put lights, and it happens to be around the same time. So, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and clap it up for Sanjay Chinu. Go ahead and hold it to me. Hold that. Yep, go ahead. Oh, what actually? All right, yeah, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna move over to the Middle Eastern Muslim perspective. Naveen is gonna go ahead and break that all down. Naveen.
So, Michael, and I'm actually a Christian politics. So I'm going to give you the Christian perspective of the Middle East as best as I know it. I did before. So Sanjay's going to be funny because Sanjay knows more than I do. Right? First of all, very interesting again. Every time I tell somebody I need to anyway, so the very first thing to know about the Middle East is in moderate beliefs, it runs the gamut spectrum. There are several faiths that are predominant. The Muslim faith is very predominant in the Middle East, and so is the Christian faith, which is mostly Orthodox, and then there are Jewish people in the Middle East. So those are the three that I say Muslims and Christians are definitely the most prominent and what you will see. And what's really cool about the Middle East is a lot of the cultures start to meld into each other as you move into. A lot of things are very, very, very similar. The one thing, so I do deal with one of the consulates, so I do deal with a lot of the different that's coming in. So I had to retrain myself on proper etiquette. So, proper etiquette, whether you're meeting somebody from the Middle East, or Muslim, Christian, doesn't matter. The thing that I would say was, until you get to know them, I would say be very conservative in your dress. I wouldn't be sleeveless, I wouldn't wear a short skirt. I would be just very respectful. And then you'll see as you take about a few times who they are. But I would still say stay in that middle lane of respect and culture, because then they may have an uncle or somebody else joining you that's more traditional, and you may accidentally offend. So it's really better to be very moderate, conservative. They love to laugh, especially Egyptians. We love to joke around, we love to laugh. You will really relate to somebody through food and through asking about who they are, asking about their culture, asking about their faith. So if you have a client that's from the Middle East, find out who they are. Don't be afraid of it. Just say, I'd love to learn more. What is your favorite food? That kind of thing. Create that relationship, create that bond. You guys, you have to remember, there was such a huge stigma, there still is. I mean, I grew up in 1973, Iranian culture here, and I was bullied forever, and it was horrific and awful. So you would never want to, whenever I run into somebody and I suspect they're of the same culture that I am, I'm very careful, because if I ask them, oh, are you Middle Eastern, are you Egyptian, are you Arabic, they think I'm targeting them, when actually I'm trying to relate to them. So I'm even very careful. So let them share first who they are, and then start to develop that, embrace it, and get to know them, get to know their family, their culture, their kids. Family and faith and food, friends are all very, very important. So
Yeah, Naveen, that's a good point. I know one of the things that I've done to work with that, so trying to find out someone's nationality. And I'm with you, so I feel like, hey, I got the card. I can just go right in with it. But I am careful. Well, I think I'm funny, so I try to, kind of use a little bit of humor, but not obviously not making fun of anything like that. But I just slide it right in. But one of the things that I also do, so if I hear a different language, I'll say, oh, what language is that you're speaking? And then they'll tell me. Like there was a time I had some clients and I thought they were speaking Polish. And with me feeling confident, right? So I felt like I could say, oh, are you guys Polish? But I knew better. And I said, what language is it that you're speaking? And they're like, Lithuanian. I was like, oh, see? And it's good that I didn't leave it, right? Because I would have found myself in trouble. And they respected that. And so that is just a key that you can, that make a great suggestion on how you can go through that.
Whenever I am with a family or unless they extend their hand first. If they do extend their hand, then I will do that. I basically mirror and match. If we become very close friends and they're huggers, I hug. The other really cool thing to know about the Middle East is we have double cheeks. So you'll see that a lot. And I'll do that accidentally to like my good friend. Like I'll just hold cheeks and we are double cheek kissers. Men do kiss men. It is not anything unusual. It is a sign of friendship and respect. That's all it is. The other thing.
Then maybe I have a question on that. So, with you don't extend your hand, but does it have anything to do with gender? So, with you being a woman, if you were to extend your hand, would that be wrong or anything like that?
There are some, yes, and there are some, and I'm not the expert in this at all, but there are also some Islamic restrictions depending on how faithful you are, with who you can touch, who you cannot touch. So I won't even touch your shoulder. I won't do any of that. So I'm just very respectful of those boundaries.
Yeah, and that's a good point because when I've done it with Indian cultures and Middle Eastern, and I've noticed, first I tried to, so I tried by error. I tried to shake the woman's hand and the man's hand, and the woman would not shake my hand. So it only took me one time. I'm like, all right, I got it. So, yeah.
It goes both ways.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. I come across that. If they send out to you, then, and again, mirror and match is really the best thing to remember in those situations. We talked about clothing, being very clothing. The big one for me is, okay, so I always try to find out when Ramadan is being celebrated. So, well, and this is COVID when I got my car, I would even have to so I can be sure I do not during Ramadan, do not. It's just not good. Once in a while I absolutely do, and I usually advertising Middle Eastern is very generous and very kind, and they would be very understanding. I want to show that I want to show kindness. This is not something they are projecting on me. This is me honoring that's and honoring yes and honoring the way they are. So sorry, I made a great friend of Sabrina's great time. So yeah, we're always late. I try to be punctual on the side of the so anyway, we're always late. I'm Karen when I first came. I was late to every single meeting, right? I'm always punctually by with the slates. To this day, I'm like that. The other thing too, with Christians, this is something that people don't know. We're Orthodox, so there's an Orthodox calendar that is very similar to the Greek church calendar. We do celebrate Christmas on January 7th, and Easter is not always the same. It's May 2nd, which is really late, a month later. So the one thing that kind of upset me is I remember one time, I think in general, to do this for each of holiday celebrations, etc. I remember one time I signed my son up for Orthodox Christmas on January 7th. He didn't do his homework that way. That day was Orthodox Christmas. She got upset and she messaged me back when I explained it was Orthodox Christmas. And her response to me was, "Oh, I didn't realize what your holiday entailed." I go, "My holiday? It's the same as your holiday, just happens to be a different date." So let's be very respectful of our differences and relate to our similarities. So that's all I want to say.
All right, do you have any questions at all for Naveen? No? All right, well, if you have some later, we can definitely do it. You want to give it to Yanina? All right, Yanina Garcia, come on up.
First of all, I didn't go to a stand. Assume that we are all the same. My children are half Mexican. If you were to ask their family if they're Puerto Rican, we enjoy each other's cultures. So, and as to when you're dealing with things of Latin descent, just remember we are a very proud people. We love our culture, we love our country, we love, everything about it. So the second that mentioned oh, are you from El Salvador? Well, someone from Costa Rica is next level, makes you think that. And it's not that we don't get along with other cultures, it's just we're a proud people, right? Thomas is actually Puerto Rican also, so he can very, very much so. Like maybe we're also very we like to greet each other once. We do the kiss on the cheek thing, which I forget sometimes. Not everybody does that, and I go right through the kill and then I have to back up. Some people don't take that well when I go and
to kiss them and.
Or I was hoping you would ever go to see everyone.
I'm gonna kiss everyone in this building. Okay, they said it was shy. I'm gonna kiss everybody that I'm already met.
They tried to get So so you had mentioned, don't make the assumption of being, if you're Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever it might be. So Latinx is a new thing, right? So for me, I'm half Puerto Rican, as you know. I told you I'm married to a Puerto Rican woman, so that makes me half Puerto Rican. So yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Now you know, Jeff. I am Puerto Rican. So Latinx. Well, when I meet anyone or refer to anyone that is Hispanic, I always say Hispanic. I never make the assumption. But now you have Latinx, right? So what's the take on Latinx? That's like a new, like millennial thing. So what do you think of? I know you're not, but
I can't speak for everyone. So I don't like it. I am a Latina, period. That's what I've always identified as. That's who I am. That's what I'm raising my daughter to be. This whole Latinx where it's like, oh, I don't want to. No, I am a proud Latina. That's what I am. I'm a proud Puerto Rican woman. My daughter is a proud Puerto Rican Mexican girl. Like that's how we identify. But again, like I said, it's not a monolith. Everyone is very different. So, I think in that case, because we are a proud people, you don't have to bother to ask. We will tell you. We will tell you what you are. If you don't know, look at our cars. There might be a flag on there. If you look at the back of my truck, you can tell what part of Puerto Rico my family's from because the name is on there. If you don't know, you can Google it. Like we are, even if we do it in a subtle way, it's there. We will tell you. We will tell you and let you know. So, I mean, I know that there's so many ways to offend people that, it's like, but we will tell. We believe with, and because we're such a happy, fun-loving, and this I'm gonna say, Latinos in general, we are a very loving group of people that it will take a lot to us. We will correct you, and we won't get super offended. We'll correct you, and then share with your culture. So it's not like
you don't give the side eye, correcting the side eye. No,
no,
I know the side eye very well.
no, I don't. So yeah, so that's and then again, I'm gonna say it seems like our cultures are all very similar in so many different ways. There is a whole family, big focus on family. The first home that I purchased, my father had to go. I was already married. We were buying our home. But my dad had to be there. When my ex-husband and I purchased our second home, his parents came to both. And now I'm purchasing another home with my partner, and my mom had to come. And it's like he might not understand that because he's not Hispanic, but it's a family thing. It's like even though we are making the decision, we want to make sure that our parents are okay with our decisions. And as much as I try to be the modern Latina, I don't need to listen to my parents, and I'm going to do whatever I want. I will be very upset if they don't approve. Realistic with this. It's just me. So you will get people saying, "Hey, my parents are coming." Sometimes I bring all their kids. I bring all my kids. There's 4 of them, so it's a big family.
Are there any questions for Yanita from anywhere? No.
How all of these cultures have their theme starts absolutely, right? And everybody just so wonderful to hear that's where we went, right? And sometimes have to be honest, we are very traditional. And even though it's breaking away to be more independent and more engaged, there is still something that for us, it's viewed as respect and tradition, whereas the other cultures view as success. And unfortunately, me being a Latina born right here, there's a lot of things about my cultures that I find success, but it is also tradition, something that has to be respected. So when you're dealing with different backgrounds, that's something.
Great. Let's give Yanita a hand. All right. So next up, we have the Black American culture. Rosa Weatherly can come up. And I kind of, but Rosa, I'm going to be here with you. And Marcus is going to be here. Marcus. No, you're good. It's just like I told you. To me, it's being excellent.
Family is first, sometimes one child, the whole family, all the children. Maybe no one has purpose of home alone, everyone wants to be part of that experience. So something we deal with after there are 4 months, they are okay with being called either some, most of them are okay with being called Black or African American.
Wait, what about, I'm sorry, all out and everything. You know, you're out here, is there something called CPT time or?
Yes, I'm on the test, which unfortunately I reached only 5 minutes, but I think we're running for 30 minutes behind. So we're kind of starts at 9 o'clock. It's the way that people start looking at. I think again, it's really about our respect. We do make sure that we are respected. We do want to make sure that everyone that is on the show, like in terms of our clients, are looked at, spoken to, or talked to, regardless if they're male or female. So at that level of respect.
Going to the time reference. So when there's a event, it's also they're offensive to arrive early to an event. So if Rosa's hosting a party at her house and she says it starts at 9 p.m., if Steven shows up at 8:50, he's on her list. So yeah.
That's what usually happens, I show up at.
I think one thing to keep in mind about the American Black African American community that's different from all the other perspectives here is that how each culture that's been represented here historically, if you're an American, you sought to come to America, our perspective is different. So that also colors our experience in America as well. So I just keep that in mind.
Can you dive into that just a little bit?
Oh, I think people are pretty well aware of the history of this. Yeah. They're pretty well aware of the history of this country. Now, that does go into something earlier. I think when we were talking about Sanjay's talking about the swastika and it not being an offensive symbol in certain cultures, which actually I've never learned it. So I'm a huge history nerd, but I've never learned that just because the swastika in modern age has been so connected to such a negative experience. However, that's not unlike the cross in Christianity. The cross is actually a tool of torture, but until Jesus was placed on it, that's when it became something that was relevant at that point. So it actually makes sense when you explain it like that. So I just add that. Just keep in mind that as you're trying to navigate, Black Americans are kind of in this really great area where we are American. It's something that sometimes we don't. It's almost being like a step kid in a blended family, if you will. So, and sometimes that it works, and sometimes it's different. So, I would just keep that.
Every experience is different, I think. To understand that you don't have a nation, that you didn't necessarily have a nation within, say, is your own. Each experience that you have with is totally different because some people might not feel that. Some Americans might not feel like a stepchild, but a lot.
You know, Rosa, that's a good point.
So should we call you African American or should we call you Black American? You kind of hit on that a little bit, but can you go into a little bit more?
I personally feel like, yes, I am American because my ancestors are of African descent. I can't say that I'm Black because I personally feel like I oh, it's not- it's okay.
Technically, I mean, none of us are color, even if we're categorized. So who's really white? You know, you was beige, pink, tan. Like seriously, who's really like the color white? But those are buckets that we put because it's easy. But everything that's easy doesn't make it right. So I would say you definitely anybody who doesn't like to be called white, they will let you know, or vice versa. So I would always, as someone said, I think Yannick said, you know, whatever the person tells you, you know, then you can't go wrong with going by that. There's a
But what I'll say on that, and go to that point, but whatever it's like, if someone's gonna refer to any of you as a Black American or African American, you know, I know that if they like hesitate, you know, that can be offensive. So what I would share to my people that are not Black or African American, so just own it. Whatever you're gonna say, you're gonna say African American or you're gonna say Black American, just go in at it, no hesitation. Because then we're like, well, what were you gonna actually call me? And that's because of the history of this country, right? Because we're thinking, well, are you gonna call me an N-word or something? Or what, you know, so that's why we say just own it. Whatever word you're gonna go with, if you're gonna say it, just own it. Go ahead.
and I was gonna tell you too, where it becomes kind of tricky is that so Black American and it's Black Caribbeans don't have the same experience that we do either. So they can come to this country, not have an accent, but their experience and their perspective on America is totally different from ours. Because they come from a country that is native to them, or they feel more native to. So I think this is that underscores the value of things like this and just learning history. So one of the things I find fascinating is when I travel abroad, a few times I turn the TV on, I'll see international news. And our news here in America is very provincial. It's very just American focused. I learned so much more about what's going on in the world when I travel abroad and I turn on, like, whether it's CNN International, whatever. I learned so much more about what's going on in the world. You know, so I would just challenge yourself I was talking to my mom about this the other day. She's a huge news watcher, and I'm not. And she said, "Oh, you're gonna miss something." I said, "No, because you'll tell me." You'll tell me. So, but with that, my brother and I are always trying to help her to understand. No, well, think about it from this way, because if you get your lens of America, even just from the 10 p.m. news, you're way behind the eight ball.
Any questions at all? Or does anyone want to add anything? Like Monique or Shanita or Karen or anyone? No, go ahead, Monique, we want you to. Oh, give her the mic. No, she said no. All right. Thank you guys. Go ahead, let's clap it up for Rosary Workers. All right. All right. So we were going to have also, you know, someone from the Asian perspective. I know we talked about the Pacific Islander Asian perspective, but we were going to try to get someone from Japanese, Filipino, and they couldn't make it today, so they had to cancel. But in our spirit of being all inclusive, I know that we have other nationalities represented. Does anyone else from any other nationalities want to give a little something? No. No one. Don't be shy now. I'm gonna kind of look and know. Okay. All right. So all right, DePaul, yes. We got DePaul. No, keep talking, you're fine. Great.
And I have two lessons that I forgot that I.
Well, Sanjay,
More similar to what the Gauli said is. Typically, when a data comes, people when they are here, they say that it's closing a certain date with the the closing date being there with your rate lock that sometimes comes into picture. So what they have done, I mean, what I try to address to them is saying, okay, if it falls on a certain day, can we do a pseudo, not exactly a closing, but they can get into the house. I tell the owner, I've done that at least 3 or 4 times, that because a certain period starts off that day, either they'll have to close 3 weeks later or 3 days, or if it's impossible for sellers to close, what we have done is taking their permission that they can go in there for about an hour. So sometimes even the concept of boiling milk over the gas and spilling it over is a concept. I try, if the home is not a weekend, I try people to avoid doing that so as not to offend somebody else. I mean, you don't want to go your culture strong and offend somebody by using their gas and stuff. So I still try and let them in and try to do whatever kind of blessings they want to get from that home on that day, so that they are feeling better about it before the closing actually.
Sellers, but buyers wanted to bless the home before closing, and it included a lot of spices and fruit
Right.
and marking the door. And we did let them do it, but it was a little nerve wracking sellers.
Yeah.
Because what if it doesn't close? Yeah. So that's something.
Usually, if they are doing it, you're 100% sure it will be close.
Okay. Two things I want to mention is God is very important in the center of all things. And also for, I would refrain from for dancing and then
All right.
Don't be cheap, don't be poor, just go get some vegetables and you're hungry. Just eat vegetables and all the rest.
April 13th. So just so you guys are aware of that is about to start. Please.
1 month real fast.
First of all, I think all this stuff should come to and with all just about this type of information. I believe that once it's so quickly, it should be in training manuals. Amazing. The other thing is shoes. I don't wear shoes inside my house. I'm from India. We take our shoes off everywhere. In fact, I was in my garage today with my shoes. So just you guys did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thanks. Can we have a big round of applause for our sponsors? And thank you to all the panelists for taking their time to be here. Please, thank you so much for your time, and everybody else who showed up. We'll continue this dialogue probably more throughout the year, so we can educate
We'll have a
more
part
people.
2. We'll have a part 2.
Yes. So we can continue this and discuss this more and educate our own agents. So thank you so much for showing up today. And we have lots of food sponsored by our attorneys and drinks by our
Title company. Yep.
So we got Indian food for you guys. I'll walk you through really quick so you know there is a chicken biryani. It's a vegetable mix.
But for vegetarians, there's vegetable biryani. And then the paneer wrap, which is like a bread filled with a paneer cheese and some onions and stuff on it. Look at you, John, you're already like. And then we have samosas, which is a very typical Indian snack. It's a fried potato fried whatever, I don't know. Potatoes and peas filled in dough made with flour. So please enjoy. I hope you like it and thank you so much guys for coming.